Hey, so I'm still in the middle of editing my second hair video, but I got a little sidetracked and I've been working on something in Houdini that I feel would be worth kind of sharing. So if you don't know Houdini, Houdini is a program where you can procedurally create geometry and you get amazing control over what you create, all the different poly counts, and just the procedural generation is incredible. If you haven't checked out Houdini, I would advise anyone to check it out. It does take a little bit more of a technical know-how as it is a node-based system, and there's a lot of coding involved, coding knowledge probably. But yeah, let's dive into what I've been working on. So I needed trees for a side project I'm working on, and normally I'm a character artist, but trees seem like something I could probably break down and try to create. So I've created in Houdini what's called an OTL or HDA, which is a digital asset, and it gives you control over the tree's trunk height. So I can make it shorter, taller. I can change the radius. So if I want the top radius to be thicker, then make it thicker, make the bottom even thicker still. And then I can bend it so it leans to one side or leans to another. The number of branches. So if I only wanted 2 branches, it generates 2 branches. You can't really see it so well. I'd probably have to up the branch length here. Upped it a lot. So you can see it's only generating the 2 branches, or I can go for 7 branches. This is their rotate up, so they either rotates up or out. And so if they're generating at the top, they generate sort of up. This is probably something I need to fix, but or if I want them to rotate more upwards. And then we have controls for the roots, number of roots. So if I want 3 roots, or if we wanted 16. Their length, make it really short. And then their radius, so I want them thicker roots. There are also things for seeds, so the points on the meshes are randomly generated, and then you can change sort of where you want them put in a random fashion. Same with the roots. And the roots also have control for a rotate down. You're not going to see too many roots that grow up into the air. And then there's giving them a little bit of a bend. Now let's bring the branch length back down. And then, so the foliage is broken into groupings per each branch, and I'll show you under the hood in a minute. I have different sizes for them, so it basically scales them. And then how manicured they are. So this value I probably need to change a little bit, and I will, but it's how kind of unruly. See that they get really, really unruly and unmanicured looking. And then I have controls right now for the poly count of just the foliage. It probably should go up a little higher, but yeah, let's turn down the manicure because you're getting back face culling. So I can up the poly count, and it will show you the final poly count for everything displayed. I don't have controls for the poly count of the trunk area just because it gives, again, really unruly results. If anyone happens to know Houdini and can help me out with this, I would love your assistance. And then it has an exports option for where you want to export it out. Exports out to OBJs. So now we will look a little under the hood and see how it's done in case you're curious about Houdini itself. Delete that. If you are downloading the asset off of, I have it on Gumroad for free. So if you do download it and you want to tinker with it, I'll show you how to install it. You'd open up Houdini, you'd go to Assets, Install Asset Library, and then you would find the location of that file. It should be as a region, low poly, OTL. Install, install and create, and then there it is. So when you open it up, you're not going to be able to access anything currently. You actually have to right click, allow editing of contents. That will unlock this little icon right here, and you'll be able to double click into it and edit everything. So in the beginning, I have really simple geometries that to start with. So I have a foliage group, I have a trunk group, a roots group, and a branch group. So we'll start with the trunk. The trunk was just created out of cylinder, and let's turn off this. So yeah, the trunk group's just created out of cylinder, and then some of those controls that you see are permutated out to the OTL itself. So things like the radius, for instance, and the radius scale, the heights. So what this does is it creates the tube. I smooth the top of it so that it isn't such a harsh edge. I give it a little bit of noise. And then here's where the bend controls come into play. And also the length. And then I assign groupings for the where I want the branches to be generated, and then where I want the roots to be generated. And then you have scatter and align, which basically creates points on those groups. And this is where you get the controls for, if I can find it. Oh wait, sorry, wrong group. This is where you get the controls for how many points get generated, and also the seed. So the randomization factor. And then I do this pretty much the same thing for the roots. The roots was a tube that was scaled, so it has a radius control again. And same thing for the branches. Branches basically duplicate, but they needed separate controls for some things. And then the foliage is actually just a sphere. Sphere, I give it a little bit of tapering, and then I give it some randomization with the mountain node, or I guess I should say some noise with the mountain node. So then we'll go to the, what is this? This is, I think, the roots creation. Nope, this is the branches, sorry. So the branches is a copy 2 points, and it's looking for the geometry, which is the branch output, and then the points, which when I did the group create and then the scatter and align, it created points along that area that it would assign them to. Then deleted, oh right, I deleted the geometry, and then I randomized the normals for it. And then that would give me where the foliage is placed. And then why the randomizing of the normals, just so that every chunk of foliage wouldn't be rotated in the same direction. It would kind of have a randomization. Then for the roots, we did the same thing. We copied those points, root points, and then this is the geometry that's being created. And then we merged all the, so we take the branches, roots, and the trunk, we merge it all together, And then we're starting to get into the retopology. So again, I haven't given too many results or too many controls on the retopology. And like I said, that's because it gives kind of crazy results. So right now I just have, so there is decimation levels for certain areas right now. Like this is just the roots, I believe. So yeah, this is the retopology group. And then over in the foliage group, I have sorting. So I'm sorting all the points by Y because I want the highest point. And that's what this is doing. It's finding the highest. I gave it a boundary, like a bounding box. And then inside the bounding box, I scattered a point. And then I copied an additional foliage group just so that there would be another lumped foliage in there to give it a little bit of height. Merge all that together. And then again, I remesh everything by grid, quad topologize it, and then I add a little bit more noise to it at the end. And also a little bit of point jitter. I move it down just a tick and then merge it all together. And then I delete unnecessary groups. For this one, I had a trunk group. It doesn't need to be passed on in the file. And then the export. So right now, it doesn't do UVs and I need to add the poly count for the trunk, but it is really helpful for my project so far. Go ahead and give it a download if you find it useful. Let me know what you think, and if you can, add to it, that'd be great. I'd take any sort of feedback or modifications to the file. It's yours to use as you like. See you later.